I just saw this video on Dave Ramsey and I wanted to share it. So, I am both a real estate investor, but I'm also a therapist. And so, I see oftentimes problems that arise when there are conflicts over money in marriage. And this specific video really struck a chord with me, and I wanted to share it with you, and then I wanted to explain it because I think that this would be really helpful for you to understand in order to help you and your spouse get on the same page when it comes to money.
Should I ever disclose to my wife that we are secretly worth millions of dollars?
Are you from another culture?
I was born in Korea, but I was raised in San Jose.
So you were raised by Korean parents that immigrated here?
That is correct.
Okay.
And
because
I'm
in Anglo-America, what you just described, as you probably realize, is pretty whacked. That's why I immediately said, is there some kind of a cultural reason for this? Because it's very unusual.
I work. My wife is a stay-at-home wife because that's just how we chose to. The thing is, I'm the saver and she's the spender. I have been working very hard, working my job in my business to grow to where we are. And I am not sure whether I should ever disclose our net worth to her because I do not know how she's going to react.
Yeah. Well, she's probably going to react poorly because she's married to a guy who's deceived her. Don't you think?
To be honest, the thing is she and I have very different perspectives when it comes to finances.
I got that.
A saver, like I'm a minimalist. She's very much a free spirit.
I know, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that you've been married to her for 5 years and sleeping with her for 5 years. She didn't know you got any money. That's deception.
I handle all the finances in the family.
Honey, you're not listening. You keep deflecting every time I bring this at you. You have deceived your wife actively. She's not going to be cool with that. You hear that?
So I understand that she's going to be somewhat, she is going to be angry. What I'm more troubled about is how she is going to take the news of these finances and if she's going to spend even more.
No, we got that. You're scared to death. Hold on.
You're scared she's going to go spend all your money, Bubba, which is the reason you lied to her in the first place. I value a quality marriage and relationship going into my old age because we've now been married almost 43 years. I value that more than money. You don't. So I'm having trouble connecting with you on this. I can't imagine a world where I would deceive my wife actively about any major thing for 5 years. About anything, not even a major thing. I don't deceive her about anything. I'm not sure I know how to answer your question. I will tell you this. I'm just the older guy sitting over here going, okay, you brought some culture into this where the guy's in charge and the lady doesn't have any say or any vote, especially if she's the spender. And so all of that combined with your nerd-like paranoia has led you to this deception. And so I'm giving you a little bit of grace here, but I'm telling you, this is not going to end well. The longer you put this off, the worse this is going to get. This is a weird thing you've done, and you need to own that.
All right, so let me tell you what, in my opinion as a therapist, is the problem and the answer. First, the big major problem isn't the fact that one person is a spender and one person is a saver. That's actually not the problem. The problem is that they don't have shared goals. Because you can have one person that likes to spend and one person that likes to save, and that's fine, but the question is, what are you saving for and what do you want to spend the money on? That's the thing that's important because the truth is we spend our money. Our money goes somewhere. And so where does it go? Does it go to a nicer home? Does it go to nicer vehicles? Does it go to vacations? Where does the money go that is spent? And if you're just putting your money in the bank to save it, okay, well, what are you saving it for and for how long? So money isn't just to be saved for some unknown reason. It's supposed to be managed well. And so if you manage your money well, you're putting money away for a specific purpose. Now, if it's, well, I want to have, money in case of a rainy day, well, that's fine. Having an emergency fund like Dave Ramsey talks about is a good idea. And so, but how much should you put in there? And then, well, what else do you want to do with that money? Do you want to pay off debt? Do you want to save up? Do you want to invest? What is it that you want to do with the money? You guys can be different people, but still have shared goals. So I'm just going to put this out there. This has nothing to do with gender roles or anything like that. But let's use this guy's example, that he's the saver and his wife is the spender. Okay, that's fine. How much would a reasonable amount be for her to spend? And it's important that she shares with him what it is that she wants and why she wants those things, so that he and her can be on the same page. Now for her, let's just say that clothes are important to her. That's fine. Some people really like clothes. So the question would be, all right, how much would be a reasonable amount of money to spend per month on clothes? Because if that's the thing that she really likes, well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's say that the guy likes cars or likes guns or likes something that he spends money on. Okay, that's fine. You guys can have different likes. But ask yourself, what would a reasonable amount of money be to spend per month on the things that each other likes? One thing that I've brought up in therapy sessions to couples that come in to see me because they have money problems or disagreements or conflicts around money is I ask them, do you have a shared vision board? And most of the time they don't. And I think that's a really big problem, because if you can make a shared vision of the future about what you want that to look like, it's much easier to make determinations about money and how to use it. So for instance, let's say that you guys would like a nice home. There's nothing wrong with having a nice home. There's always a trade-off, because if you get a really nice home, that's probably going to cost a lot of money. And then you're going to have to earn that money in order to get the home. So the question would be, well, how much money do we need to save up for a down payment? Are we going to save up a big amount of money for the down payment, or are we going to save the minimum amount in order to get into the home of our dreams? By the way, I don't suggest doing that. I don't suggest getting the minimum amount in order to get into the home of your dreams. This actually goes back to my investing background. I would say not to get into the home of your dreams until you can get into a financial position to where you could purchase that home of your dreams in cash. Now, many of you guys might think that's very unrealistic, but I would say that if you are getting the home of your dreams, make sure that it's a home of your dreams and not a home of your nightmares. Because if you overextend yourself to get that really nice home and something happens with a job or income, then the weight of that home could be very, very heavy and could cause a lot more financial problems and a lot more contention in your relationship. So it's okay to buy a starter home and then trade in that starter home for a little bit nicer of a home. And each time you trade up, you get more and more equity built up because you're paying down more of your mortgage, and then you take that equity into your next home. So over maybe a 10-year or 15-year period of time, you can work up towards getting that home of your dreams. Just be careful not to get into it too quickly. Now back to the vision board. I would encourage you and your spouse to plan a weekend getaway where it's just going to be you and your spouse and your computers. And you can look up on your computer in images and things like that, things that you want in your life. And as you look up these things, you might even bring a printer with you, and you go and you buy a big frame that has, a piece of plastic in front of it, and you can take out that frame, and usually it's like a cardboard backing, and you take some of those pictures that you guys have looked up online and found the things that you want to include in your life, and then you print them out, you cut them out, and you put them on your vision board. If you do that, then you guys can be working towards the same goal. And that's the thing that's really important, is that you work towards the same goal. Because again, one person can be a spender and one person can be a saver. That isn't the problem. The problem is when you aren't working towards the same goal. So I would say that the guy that called into the Dave Ramsey show is doing it completely wrong. You do not want to trick or deceive your spouse into thinking that you don't have any money. That shows a lack of respect, that shows a lack of trust, and a lack of consideration. So no, you do not want to do that. That will most likely lead to divorce, or at minimum, it's what's called financial abuse. To not let your spouse know how much money there is and where the money's going, absolutely not okay. So the answer to this situation is get on the same page, with what you want your life to be like. So thanks for watching this crossover video between what I do with investments and real estate and also what I do as a therapist with couples. So hopefully this video was helpful for you, and hopefully it's helpful for you in your marriage. And with that, I will wish you a fantastic day.